Just empty every pocket. That's what it stands for. So today we're working on this 2013 Jeep here, Wrangler. And this is probably the worst differential I've ever seen. Showed a clip of you on one of our other videos of a sneak peek of this video coming up. So let me show you what we got here. Looks pretty crappy. So that there is a crusty differential right there. You can see the pinion in the back. It's just ruined. Most everything in here is ruined, but I'm hoping I'm not gonna have issues with these bolts coming out with all the rust. But they evidently buried this thing in the water. Thought it was the ultimate off-road vehicle, I guess. And when they brought it to me, they said they had trouble getting it to drive because this was all locked up. This is really an open diff, so evidently the two axles were all seized up because of the rust and everything in here. So we pulled it off, found out the problem. We got all of our parts ordered over here. I'll show you what we got. We got our new nitro gear and axle, open diff, just going back to what the factory had, nothing fancy. We got a new set of gears here, 373s with this half from the factory. 75 140 full synthetic lube, and our complete setup here: bearings, shims, new ring gear bolts, new seal for the cover, gasket for the cover. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tear into this, which involves me. I got to pull the tires off. We got to be able to get the axles pulled, which is going to involve me taking this outer bearing assembly off, the brakes, the caliper. We're going to get this tie rod out of the way, our steering stabilizer, and then we should get down to the nitty gritty of getting to tear all this apart. We'll put you all on time lapse. We're gonna get all this stuff took apart so we can get busy. All right, so we're ready to start pulling the chunk. And what I noticed here is look what came out with these axles. This is sand. They took it down to Sugar Creek trails, buried it in the water, and got sand and everything all in here. I mean, it came all out. It's all piled up in there. Talk about abuse. Oh man, the bolts for the hubs were so froze up. One of them snapped right here, coming out. So we're going to address that. We'll have to feel these hubs, see if they're even worth putting back on. I know they're on a budget, but I didn't get near as much sand come out this side. But all right, one last thing to get out of the way, and we'll get this out of my way. Then we're going to tear into that. We're going to hope all that comes out. You can see just how bad this pinion is. So we're gonna hope our surface isn't messed up in the axle. They didn't chew the bearing up that much. Bearing looks nice and dry and crusty in there. That's just terrible. All right, let's pull our carrier out. See how that feels terrible. keep our spacers. Factory spacers, that's what we're going to start at when we set everything back up. Would you just look at that? Just look at that. That's just yummy right there. Can't hardly turn the bearings. It appears that our races saves the case here. So now we just got to knock both races out of both sides and do a whole lot of cleaning up. And then we'll start assembling our new carrier and everything, get ready to install it. We're waiting on our parts delivery to get here. This includes a case of brake cleaner to clean all this. We've cleaned the tube out that was just full of sand. Spray a little brake cleaner down and shoot a rag down through there a time or two more. A whole lot of blowing out of compressed air. I'll show you what we got out of there. All these pieces and all this sand and everything else. So now, our new carrier is in the freezer, and our new ring gear has been out here sitting in the sun for hours. So we got a pretty good temperature difference between the two. So we're gonna throw our ring gear on the carrier, have that done. Waiting on my parts delivery to get here. We're gonna shoot down to my dad's shop and press the carrier bearings and the pinion bearing on. And then once we get that done and we're done cleaning up, we'll be ready to throw it together. We pulled our bearing hubs off. That's part of our delivery coming to replace those. Those were really stiff too, which you can imagine with all the sand this thing had been through, and it was packed in every crevice. Any bearing surface was ruined pretty much. So we're gonna throw that ring gear on now and wait on our stuff for cleanup and get ready for reassembly. All right, like I said, one's been sitting in the sun, other one in the cold. And this is just for assembly purposes right now. We're gonna take these out one at a time later. All right, so I just installed the first inner seal here that you can see there for the axle. We got everything all cleaned up here. Got all the sand and grit out of it. It's just a little bit of rust that's on the surface here. I'm gonna give it one more good wipe before we actually install the gears, but there was no way for me to hold the camera while I did this. So this is my normal race and seal installer here. And it just by chance fits right inside of that pipe, just perfect. There's not enough room for me to hammer inside the housing here. So I came all the way out the tube here with this pipe. And I just lined it up on my seal there like that, and I drove it in until it was seated. It's gonna be the same idea for driving the seal in on this side. So we're gonna do that, and then we got to go run and press our bearings on to the pinion and the carrier, and then we'll be ready to start putting stuff back together. We got all of our bearings pressed on. My battery went down when we were putting the pinion bearing on, so sorry. Just use a collar to go over it, set this on the press it down. That's how you put it on. We're here to install our races on the diff now. Knock this race in. Got this oil slinger here. I've never done a Dana 30. If I'm doing something wrong, please don't criticize me. That's the way it was put together. I'm assuming this was from the factory still. When I knocked it out, what was left of this was in between the race and the housing there. So I'm gonna reinstall that race the same way. This has been in the freezer, so the temperature differentiation usually makes this driving out a little bit easier. All right, we got both our races knocked in. Both sides. We got our bearing lubed up, got some oil on our surface. We're gonna stick this bearing in, go on and drive our seal in, and then install our pinion with our crush sleeve and everything. Pinion's in, and it's all loose right now. So to get this started, to start setting your pinion preload, you gotta be able to get this nut on. But to get this nut on at first, that bearing that's right behind here is pressed on. So what I do is I take the old inner race from the one that came apart, and without this hub on here, I'll put it on here and just start the nut enough to just start setting the bearing. This isn't hurting the bearing, it's sitting right on the face of where it's got pressure on it anyways. So you tighten it down enough just so you can get these threads started, so that you can then stick a pry bar across here and tighten this nut up and start figuring out your preload on your pinion here. All right, we've lubed up our carrier bearings. They're ready to go in. We got our races there. We cleaned up our horseshoes on both sides. Cleaned up our factory shims from both sides. I wrote down what they were. I got 0.1230 inches on the left. I got 0.1285 on the right. We're gonna put this together with the factory ones, check our backlash and our gear pattern and see if that's right. There's no guarantee that's right, but it's a good starting point. So we're gonna put all it together. There's our bolts, they're all cleaned up. So I'm gonna put this in and we're gonna see what we got. This is so much easier than doing a Super Duty. I did keep these apart, got left and right. And if you notice, there's a groove right here. That was on the outside where the shims are. I'm just putting everything back together the way that I found it. All right, so we're going 60 foot-pounds. And we're going to check our backlash and our gear pattern up. And I can tell you right now, by feeling it, it's really close. That's why you start. Those factory ones that are in there are always just a good place to start. Let's go back to 0. It's like 8 thousandths. Perfect. So let's check our gear pattern. them to do this. Try to put some resistance against the gears as if they were actually pulling the truck. As you can. Go back and forth. And then we'll see what we got. Now to me, that's about as perfect as a pattern as you get. It's right in the middle, doesn't go all the way to the heel, doesn't go all the way to the toe. It's not all the way buried down the root. It's not just on the top of the gear. And put this around for you. Cosine could be just a little bit deeper, but I think we're just fine. I'm not going to complain about it. I guarantee it ain't going to make no noise. Backlash is right there within spec, and teeth pattern looks good. So the thing is, we went right back with the factory replacement open diff here. We went back with the same gear ratio. We didn't change anything. They're good quality Koyo bearings that we put in. So that's why I wanted to start with these for sure, because I knew even if it wasn't, it was going to be really close, and that's so close it hurts. So we're going to rock and roll with this. Get our hubs put on, throw the axles in, get all this back together, and be done with it. All right, we cleaned our seal surface up on our axles so we don't have any rough crud, nothing like that, trying to eat on our seal. Cleaned our splines up so they slide in the axle easy. As I mentioned earlier, we cleaned the tubes out earlier, got all the crud out of them, cleaned them out with brake cleaner. So now we're ready to slide these axles in, do our hubs, put all of our suspension back together, and last thing, seal up our diff cover, which we cleaned up earlier also. Got all the crud out of it. That's the rust from the damn water sitting in it for a while, evidently. Yeah, seal that up and fill it up with our 75 140 synthetic oil here. So I'm gonna put you on time lapse. We're gonna put all this together. We are all together with our new hubs, all assembled, brakes on, new ABS lines run for the new hubs. Only thing we had left to do is torque our ring gear, put our cover on, fill it with fluid, put our steering bar on, attach our drive shaft. So we're going to torque these ring gear bolts, get that done. Keeps going on with my camera, but I just put the cover on Bolts are just in finger tight. Put just a dab of RTV on the housing, and that's just to hold the gasket. Keeps everything lined up real easy. Get my bolts in, and we'll tighten them up. So we're on our final step here. Filling her up a little. Probably should have left this steering off until I did this, but oh well, this bag's gonna make it pretty easy. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video on rebuilding this Dana 30 axle and this Jeep here. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe below. Hit that notification bell. We have 74 videos now. So check out our other videos, see what you got that you may be interested in. We're also doing a giveaway because we're about to hit 1,000 subscribers. We're really excited about it. We've been working for almost 2 years now to hit this spot. So we're excited about it. So to celebrate that, we're going to do a giveaway. So if you will, and you want to enter for the giveaway to win this hat, shirt, 2 stickers, and one of our tumblers here, post a picture below showing that you're subscribed on this video in the comment section for me. We'll pick a winner from that comment section to decide who gets all this cool stuff here. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the support that y'all give us. This is Automatic Garage signing out. Y'all like, subscribe, comment. Check us out at Facebook, automaticgarage.com, Instagram, and Rumble also. We'll holler at y'all later.